Nutrition Corps again, and some other services. Kids need to know they have a future, so do their parents.
Thank you. Colleen?
Yeah, I absolutely support raising the minimum wage. You know, as somebody who actually has worked minimum wage jobs and struggled, you know, when my son was first born, I know firsthand how these issues really affect people and how living, you know, if you're working 40 hours a week, there is no reason why you should be living in poverty. There is no reason why you should have to struggle between paying the rent and putting food on the table. This is something that I personally lived and something I will fight very hard for once I get to Congress. You know, I agree too. I think we need to tie it to the cost of living. This is something that we're debating and arguing about every few years. If we just had it with the cost of living increases and it goes up, then we wouldn't have to be fighting about it. We wouldn't have to turn it into politics, but we could actually do something good for the hardworking families, not only of this district, but all over the country.
1 minute rebuttals. Steve?
Well, there's nothing to rebut, quite frankly, other than to say that, you know, I think all of us have worked very hard in the past and have struggled to make ends meet. So we all know firsthand what that means. My first child was born, I was unemployed, I had to go on public assistance, so I had experience with that firsthand as well. And let me tell you something. When I had to do that, I'll be honest and telling you, I was embarrassed and I was ashamed. I made two promises to myself. Number one, I would never let it happen again. I would work absolutely as hard as I could to make it never happen again. But more importantly, I would never forget what it was like to have to turn to the government for help. And that's what's made me, one of the things that has made me a lifelong Democrat. I will always be a Democrat because of that.
Eric?
Not a rebut, because I think there is some agreement. The difference is whether one's been there and walked that talk for a long time. I have. But also, we absolutely need to be talking about the values we're putting at stake in our society. Do we care about our neighbors? That's huge. And part of that is what I see Social Security as being. I love the benefits. 152,000 people get $2.3 billion a year in this district in total. But I also love it because it speaks to the idea of security and dignity of people. And that's why we ought to be fighting for high minimum wage, higher. Jobs for anyone who is willing and able to work, massive investment in infrastructure with good agreements for labor so that we hire local labor and especially people in the cities. These are things we have to fight for. They connect. It's not a matter of being favorable to one. You really have to work on them all.
Yeah, I would just like to add, before in my opening remarks, I mentioned, you know, when I was pregnant with my son, I didn't have health care or sick time. So I had to quit, I had to go on Medicaid actually for health insurance. And I had to quit my job a few days before he was born and go on food stamps and WIC to keep us healthy. And you know, one of the reasons I'm running for Congress was because of this experience in my life. It's not a unique experience, the one that I had, but it's a perspective that's not represented in Congress. How many members of Congress can actually say they've had to use the programs that they're voting on? How many of them can say they've been unemployed or underemployed? That's why I'm running, because I want to represent people who have not had a voice at the table before.
Thank you. The second question, this one's going to go to Eric. So Eric, what do you think about the Affordable Care Act, and how, if at all, would you improve it?
Okay. I support the Affordable Care Act. I think it was a major step forward. We have 17 million more people who have benefits. It's not a perfect system. I have lots of students in my classes who say, oh yeah, they've got their insurance through their parents as they're graduating. I support it. It's not perfect. I'd like to see changes. I absolutely want to see the nation move towards a single-payer Medicare for all. And here's how we do it, I believe. We push for it because it is the right answer. We start with the public option. Give people an option to compete. Medicare costs less than 3%, 2.5% to administer the traditional Medicare program. I see no value for insurance companies between me and my doctors, my nurse practitioners, my whomever. They don't add value. They suck it out. But we have to have options for states, make it easier for states to develop single-payer plans over time, we will move in that direction, because if we don't, we're going to bankrupt our businesses, we're going to bankrupt a lot of households. The single biggest reason that people face bankruptcy is healthcare. Households face bankruptcy, but they no longer have the bankruptcy laws to fall back on, like a lot of the corporations still do. So I'm not someone who dislikes the Affordable Care Act. I will say one thing: I oppose the Cadillac tax. I would replace the Cadillac tax. It's a tax on hard-earned benefits. The name of the game is kind of revolting. They want people who have good benefits to have skin in the game. Like, we all want to go have an extra colonoscopy because we have benefits. I mean, it's not, people go to healthcare because they need it. So I'd like to see that repealed, and I'd like to see universal healthcare understood as a right for every human being in our nation.
Okay, Colleen?
Yeah, I absolutely support the Affordable Care Act. I mean, I think what we're seeing right now in Congress, I mean, I think they voted over 60 times, it might be 64, 65 times to repeal all or parts of the Affordable Care Act. I mean, that's absurd. That's a waste of time. That's also taking away health insurance from the millions of people who are now enrolled in health insurance that did not have health insurance before. I will fight hard against anybody who tries to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and fight at every turn to make sure that we're allowing people the opportunity to get insurance. As somebody who didn't have insurance, I know how important it is. I agree. I think the excise tax is something that we need to repeal, and there's no reason why we should force hardworking people to have to pay a 40% tax just because they opted for a high-cost health care plan. That's something I want to work on when I'm in Congress as well.
And Steve?
Well, I fully support the Affordable Care Act. I'm an employer. I get health insurance for my employees. I navigate the Affordable Care Act every day. It has made it easier to insure people. More people are insured in this country than have been insured in many, many years. That's a good thing. I will fight to defend the Affordable Care Act. Eric mentioned the inefficiency of our healthcare system, and I agree with him on that. I echo that. In the United States, we spend about $9,500 per year per person on healthcare. And when I say we, I mean that's all expenditures on healthcare, whether it be through government programs or private health insurance. About $9,500 per year. There are countries that have universal health care that pay half that. I mean, look at Canada. They pay about $5,200 per year per person. You look at the United Kingdom. They pay about $4,000 per person. So our system is completely inefficient. We can do better. If other countries do better, we can do better. Now, the other part of the question was, how can the Affordable Care Act be improved? Well, Eric